What's up, fam? It's Coach Cam back again with another video. And in this video, we're discussing exercise science degrees. So, I personally have two exercise science degrees. I have a bachelor's in physical education that is specified as exercise science, and then I have a master's degree in exercise science with a concentration in strength and conditioning. So, with these two degrees, I completed them in 2021, and I personally uh, had a plan of becoming an exercise physiologist. If you don't know what that is, you can look it up, or I'll just tell you. So it's basically a person that works in a hospital that takes patients through a stress test to see how their heart is doing, how their lungs are doing, where they're weak, and then creating a program, a training plan that the client can follow there at the hospital and come in each day and work toward improving any pathologies or diseases that they have, improving their health, their well being, their strength, their cardiovascular fitness, and all components of function and health. So that was my plan. And I went ahead and stayed after the bachelor's degree to get my master's degree because I wanted to know everything there is to know about exercise. I didn't want there to be any mysteries or any concepts or ideas that I didn't fully understand. I wanted to know what did the research say, and I wanted to dive deep so that I could fully grasp the concept of exercise in the field of exercise science. And in doing so, I was able to meet a lot of great people. I met a lot of great professors. There were great teachers, great researchers. I went to school in Florida. Um, there's a lot of researchers from Florida that are kind of popular on social media that were some of my teachers. And learning under them was a great privilege, and it taught me a lot about exercise. That being said, I would say that a large chunk of what I learned getting those degrees was already available on the internet. Most people who are very passionate about exercise will do kind of like what I did, which was learn from a bunch of different people, bunch of different YouTubers, different people at the gym, basically taking information from all sides and then formulate your own conclusions and based on practical experience and what is logical when it relates to the human body. So for myself, that started when I took an exercise physiology course my junior year of college. And that course was very, very interesting to me. And I learned a lot, and every single topic, every single chapter was extremely interesting to me. And I wanted to know more. And I wanted to know everything there was to know so that I could help people and kind of dissolve the mystery of exercise. So that's kind of in a nutshell what I gained from exercise science degrees was I gained an understanding of the research, I gained an understanding of testing and measuring body fat percentage, measuring VO2 max, measuring fitness in a variety of testing and a variety of data points, as well as understanding how to program. Part of my project and some of our projects we had to do was create a training plan for an athlete. So I created one for a track athlete, like an 800-meter runner. I've created kind of like triathlon based plans. Um, but to be honest, and then you add in weightlifting too, right? So you have to include weightlifting because you don't want the person to just become super weak and get injured. So you understand weightlifting, you understand hypertrophy, strength, and you're taught the textbook, right? You're taught the textbook, which is a variety of ideas from hundreds of authors compiled together. And honestly, you really taught kind of mainstream ideas. I felt like I was taught very mainstream ideas about hypertrophy, about strength. Rep ranges like 1 to 5 is strength, and 6 to 15 is hypertrophy. But actually, even up to 30 reps can be hypertrophy as long as you train at failure, or beyond, 30 reps even. So and we learned kind of power, strength, hypertrophy, very like boxed rep ranges. And think about it, this is back between the years of 2017 and 2021. So that's the time I was in school, and we learned ideas that were cutting edge for that time period and some of the research that was coming out at that time period. So um, obviously there's more rabbit holes you can go down in the research nowadays. But for the degree as a whole, it's going to be up for you to decide. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to say that most of what I learned, I probably could have found through the internet, through books, right? Through other content. And I probably didn't need to sit through an official course to learn all that content. Now, what you do gain is you do gain a degree, right? You gain a piece of paper that says that you have knowledge in this field. And then when you get a master's degree, same thing. You gain a piece of paper that says you have knowledge in this field. And honestly, those degrees are really good as stepping stones, right? Get those degrees if you're moving on to something bigger, right? If you're trying to get a doctorate in exercise science or move on to be like a medical doctor or physical therapist, something like that, and you want those as like your foundational degrees, go ahead and do it because you will learn a lot that is going to apply directly to your line of work. However, I was getting those degrees because I wanted to know about exercise and I did want a job that applied them to people to be able to help people. However, for myself, I found that the job market was not adequate for those degrees. There's only a few jobs out there, like I said, exercise physiologist, which I then later found out was actually kind of a rare job. A lot of hospitals were hiring cardiac nurses, respiratory therapists, people like this to fill that type of role without actually hiring an exercise physiologist or someone who has an exercise science degree. And then the other option really is personal training, which a lot of trainers at most gyms just have generic certifications that you can get in a matter of a few hours to a few days. Most of them do not have degrees. And I personally went ahead and got the National Strength Conditioning Association's Certified Strength Conditioning Specialist degree, not degree, certification when I finished, sorry, because I realized that that was the best certification to have. And I still believe that it is a very, very, very high credential to have that certification and take that test. You have to have a bachelor's degree in something just to even sit for the test. And then you obviously have to study the textbook and have basically gone to school for it to be able to pass the test. A lot of people don't pass it. I passed it. And so I had that certification. I haven't renewed it. So I guess technically I don't have it anymore in the last year or so, but I technically possess that certification. Um, but my point is that when you get these degrees, you're not really more qualified to do anything with those degrees because employers are just going to see those degrees and they're going to say, okay, that's cool. You had that degree. What experience do you have? And then you look at them and you're like, what do you mean? What experience do I have? I have all these classes I took, all these labs and test results we did. I mean, when I finished my degrees, we actually compiled an entire binder of all the projects we did and the group fitness stuff. And like, they spread us really thin where we got a lot of information from a lot of different angles with these degrees. So we did have a lot to show that we knew and understood, but employers just don't seem to value that. They don't seem to value the degree. Um, I had interviews with exercise physiologist positions. I tried walking into hospitals to talk to them, hospitals that my teachers were telling me were hiring, and they were like, "What are you doing here? Apply online." And I'm like, "No, I'm here to like meet and talk with you." It's crazy, right? Obviously, everyone knows that, right? The job market's crazy out there. You can't really do it like your grandparents say, "Oh, just walk in there with a smile." It's like that's what I did. And I just got told that we're not hiring, leave or whatever. So, unless you have connections in that field, it's going to be harder than you think. You can also be a strength conditioning coach for like high schools, colleges, universities, stuff like that. That is also a very specific job and position that you really have to start at the bottom. I found you have to, a lot of them want you to have like a year of internships before you can even get an actual paid position. So you're basically looking at a year of unpaid internship where you're just putting in a ton of hours, getting no pay for it. Um, and working in universities like that and other programs like that, you have to kind of subscribe to what they believe about exercise, right? The programs are already written and you're just one of the assistant coaches that's administering the program. You don't really get a say in what they're administering. And if you have ideas that are different, you're kind of cast out. And that's kind of what I found with the exercise science field as a whole is like they're very pigeonholed in what they believe because they've built it over decades, right? The research has really compiled in the last 30 years. And, personally, I think a lot of the research topics are just running in circles and they're not really coming out with information that's pertinent or that actually matters and is measurable to the common trainer. But that's just my take on it. So, um, but overall, the degrees were cool. I met a lot of cool people and people that went on beyond to get PhDs and become physical therapists or get a PhD in exercise science or whatever it is. Just for me, it didn't quite fill the role that I needed in my life and what jobs I was looking for. I ended up working for a doctor who was all about like helping people with anxiety and depression and insomnia. And I told him I had a master's in exercise science, and he said, "Oh, okay." I was kind of looking for someone who had a bachelor's in exercise science. So, you know, his pay was low. I took the job. I made like $16 an hour, and this was uh, about 4 years ago. You know what I mean? So, um, it's tough out there. It's tough out there. I'll say that there is a lot of competition, and mainly they want to see what your experience is. I don't think they really count degrees like that anymore. The degree is the degree, but like they want to know what experience do you have. So, um, all in all, unless you're gonna kind of be an entrepreneur with this information, this degree, and like create your own thing, create your own coaching line, your own brand name, work with like a very established gym. You really need a business degree. Would actually be just as beneficial than an exercise science degree. I also have worked at Crunch Fitness. I was there for like a month, and I learned that it was all sales. It really didn't matter what you knew about exercise, how good of a trainer you would be. All it was sales, sales, sales. Can you convince people to be your client? And you're just walking around the gym, and you're not getting paid to just walk around the gym. I was there for 9, 10 hours a day, making $0 because I was only paid when I would train a signed on client, which was really hard to get. You got a lot of people that are flaky, that don't want to call you back or don't want to show up, don't want a free workout. People just avoid you when you're trying to pitch them like exercise. It's crazy. Like, something that's so beneficial such as exercise is hard to get people to do, to convince people to have that. So I'm kind of past that point. I'm like, I'm done trying to convince people to exercise. I'll be an example. I'm going to put out my content, but I'm not going to like twist people's arms about it. If they don't want to train, then don't train. I'll get the results. I'm going to train. You know what I mean? Anyway, long story short, I became a firefighter, and I've been a firefighter for about 4 or 5 months now, and that's been the greatest decision that I've made. So maybe that's you're somebody like that who you're into fitness. It's a hobby, it's a passion, but maybe you don't need to put all your eggs in that basket of trying to make a career out of it because I don't know, it might work out, it might not work out. So now I'm paying back student loans without even using the degree that I got. And I know I'm not the only person to do that. And it's a sad story. And I don't want that to be the case, but that's just the way my life played out. And, I have a family now. I can't like backtrack or fix where I'm at other than keep working hard, be the firefighter that I am. So, sorry to get a little bit off topic. Give you guys some more information about me in case you didn't know who I am. But basically, at the end of the day, it's a degree. You're not like a better person or better trainer before or after you get the degree. Just like when I got the CSCS certification, I had a buddy that was telling me, hey, you're not like any better of a trainer the day before you took the test versus the day after when you passed it. You're the same person, you're the same trainer. So it really comes down to you investigating, finding out what works for clients, and being good at sales, being good at marketing, maybe being good at social media, stuff like that is going to go further than even being a good trainer because the people that you're training, they don't understand exercise. They don't know, right? They don't. they don't know if what you're doing with them is effective or not. I was at Crunch and I took over a client from another trainer because she had to leave and go work a different job. And so I signed on the client and I completely revamped what she was doing because she was doing like half-hour sessions like once a week. So I made her go way harder for those half-hour sessions, do way more exercises because I'm like, you got half hour a week, like we got to go hard, you know what I'm saying? So, um, exercise is kind of just a wild field where people have deeply held beliefs. You have certifying bodies like the NSCA, the NSCA, ACSM, ACE, right? All these certifying bodies that have beliefs about exercise that a lot of their beliefs aren't even founded in research. They just kind of built them up over time, their traditions, and they may or may not even work on clients. So honestly, I think the whole field needs to be revamped and structured differently, volume, intensity, everything. But ultimately, yeah, back to the degree. If you wanted to get the degree, then so be it. Go do it. You do you, and push for being a coach or whatever it is. Um, but my take on it is, if you don't have an official job title when you come out of college, you're kind of rolling the dice and hoping that something works out. I'd rather you go to school and get a degree that when you walk out of the door, you are fully certified to start that job. When you're a physical therapist, you are a physical therapist from the moment you graduate college. No employer is saying you're not ready yet, you don't have the experience. They're ready to hire you, right? So, nurses, engineers, stuff like that, you are fully equipped and ready to start the job. That's what I recommend because I know for me myself, I have never felt more devalued than when I got a master's in exercise science. You go on the internet, everyone's like, "Oh, you're a nerd, you're a science nerd, and you don't know anything about the real gym training, and like, you just think that you're all about the research, and in the real world it's different." And it's like, okay, you know what I mean? Like, wow, like, you would think someone who has a degree in a topic, who studied it for years on end, would be a credible source, but people find a way to not really care what you have to say or what you think sometimes. So um, just be careful of that too, because people will just completely dismiss your degree. Like your friends, your family, or people that you meet will just like, at first they're like, "Wow, that's crazy," and then it sinks in a little bit, and sometimes they're just like, they don't care at all. It doesn't make a difference to them. They don't think you're smarter than them at all. And that's the thing about exercise. A lot of guys just think they're smart. They think they know how to train. They think they know because they're a tough guy, and or they just have big muscles because their genetics are crazy, and they train with half the intensity, but they have big muscles, or they take PEDs. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. I personally don't have good genetics, so I freaking investigated this hard because I wanted to know, because I want to get better myself as well. So thanks guys so much for watching. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you want to see more content. I'm constantly going to be pushing out content on exercise because it's my passion. It's what I love. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.